Lesson 1. Adversity is the greatest university. In today's world, many people believe that success requires privilege. Studying at a prestigious school, being born into a wealthy family, or at least having a comfortable starting point. But the story of Li Ka-shing proves otherwise. His life is living evidence that adversity itself is the greatest university, and sometimes the only diploma you truly need. He never had the chance to finish high school, let alone attend college. Yet through sheer determination, discipline and vision, he learned more from hardship than any classroom could have offered. Li Ka-shing was born in 1928 in Chao, Guangdong, China. His father was a poor schoolteacher, his mother a homemaker. The family lived modestly, and China at the time was torn by war and poverty. Tragedy struck when Li was still a teenager. His father died of tuberculosis. Not only did he lose a parent, but also the family's only breadwinner. At just 15 years old, Li was forced to drop out of school and work to support his mother and siblings. For most, this would have crushed their future. For him, it became the beginning of a long journey of resilience. Denied formal education, Li Ka-shing found another kind of classroom, harsher but far more practical, the school of life. His first job was at a plastics factory. He worked grueling shifts of 16 to 18 hours a day. His hands blistered, his body ached. Yet instead of despairing, he watched and learned how the machines operated, how production was managed, how owners dealt with clients and workers. He later said, "Others only earned wages. I earned wages and knowledge." For Li, the factory was not just a workplace, it was a lecture hall. Hardship was the teacher, and every long day was a lesson. Where many would have cursed fate, Li chose to learn from adversity. He realized that poverty taught frugality, loss taught resilience, hard labor taught discipline, failure taught long-term vision. Adversity to him was not an obstacle. It was the strictest but most effective mentor. One of Li Ka-shing's most iconic sayings is, "Adversity is the best university." This was not a clever metaphor. It was the truth of his life. Without hardship, he would never have forged the steel discipline, patience, and persistence that later built his empire. From his teenage years in the factory, Li learned invaluable lessons. Discipline, respect schedules, endure long hours. Observation, pay attention to details, spot opportunities where others see nothing. Saving, even with meager wages, set aside money for the future. Endurance, understand that today's suffering is the price for tomorrow's success. These lessons became the foundation of his business philosophy. Modern youth often feel defeated by relatively small challenges, failing an exam, working a low-paying job, struggling in a startup. But compared to a 15-year-old boy forced to work 18-hour days just to keep his family alive, these struggles are small tests. The difference lies in our response. Do we complain, or do we learn? Do we give up, or do we persist? Li didn't just endure adversity, he turned it into fuel for success. He refused to see himself as a victim of fate. Instead, he saw hardship as the forge where strength was created. Here lies the key difference. Ordinary people, adversity obstacle. Extraordinary people, adversity equals training ground. From those painful years emerged a lifelong principle. If you cannot endure hardship, you cannot accomplish great things. And indeed, without that endurance, he would never have had the patience to build Cheung Kong, acquire Hutchison Whampoa, or invest in telecommunications long before others saw the opportunity. The first lesson from Li Ka-shing is this: treat adversity as your university. Failure is a lesson. Rejection is training. Poverty is an opportunity to learn frugality, discipline, and creativity. Without his harsh childhood, there would have been no Superman of Hong Kong. And if we learn to transform difficulty into wisdom, we too may write our own story of success. Lesson 2: the 5-bucket rule for money management. Money is one of the most powerful forces in our lives. For many, it is also one of the most confusing. People work hard, yet often end up broke. Salaries increase, but so do expenses. Wealth seems to slip through the fingers of those who never learn how to manage it. Li Ka-shing, who rose from poverty to become one of Asia's richest men, understood this problem deeply. He believed that financial discipline, not just income, separates the rich from the poor. And so he created a simple yet profound rule that became one of his most enduring teachings, the 5-bucket rule. Li Ka-shing's childhood was marked by scarcity. He watched his mother stretch every coin, turning hardship into survival. Later, when he began earning his first wages, he noticed something. Most workers spent everything they earned. When an emergency came, they were helpless. He realized that without a clear structure, money vanishes. Wealth requires intentional allocation. Thus, he divided income into 5 buckets, each with a specific purpose. This system not only ensured survival, but also laid the foundation for growth. Bucket 1, living expenses. This portion covers food, rent, clothing, transportation, and daily necessities. Li emphasized modesty. Live simply, never spend to impress. Quote, luxury is the enemy of progress. Simplicity is the ally of success. Lesson, do not let lifestyle inflation consume your future. Bucket 2, education, 20%. A portion is reserved for education. Books, courses, skills, training. Li believed learning was an investment with the highest return. Quote, knowledge is the best investment. It pays the highest interest. Lesson, formal education may end, but self-education must never stop. Bucket 3, relationships, 15%. Money for building trust, hosting a meal, showing gratitude, maintaining bonds. In Chinese business culture, relationships, guanxi, are vital. Li saw relationships as a form of social capital that multiplies opportunities. Lesson, use money not only to buy things, but to build trust and goodwill. Bucket 4, investment, 25%. A portion is always invested, starting a small business, buying assets, planting seeds. Even in poverty, Li saved and invested early. He once said, money saved is seed, money invested is tree. Lesson, without investment, wealth cannot grow. Bucket 5, charity, 10%. Li stressed that even the poor must give. Giving nurtures humility and gratitude. He believed money must flow like water. If it circulates, it nourishes life. If hoarded, it stagnates. Lesson, giving is not loss, it is planting seeds in society. The 5-bucket rule works because it creates balance. Live within your means. Invest in yourself. Build relationships. Grow capital. Give back. It turns money from a source of stress into a tool for growth. The rule is simple, but the challenge is discipline. Most people fail because they overspend on lifestyle, they neglect learning, they ignore networking, they avoid investing, they forget giving. Li Ka-shing's genius was not just making money, but managing it with discipline. Early career. Li earned little at the plastics factory, yet he saved portions for books and relationships. These investments later gave him knowledge and allies for starting Cheung Kong. Later wealth. Even as a billionaire, he lived simply, proving that the buckets are not about numbers but mindset. In modern times, the 5-bucket rule remains powerful. A student can apply it with a small allowance. A worker can apply it to monthly salary. An entrepreneur can apply it to profits. It is scalable, timeless, and universal. Why did Li emphasize giving even when poor? Because it builds character. Why prioritize learning over comfort? Because knowledge compounds faster than money. Why invest early? Because wealth grows with time. Every bucket reinforces not just financial health, but personal growth. Divide your income or it will divide you. The poor spend to survive, the rich spend to grow. Giving teaches you wealth is responsibility, not privilege. Li Ka-shing's 5-bucket rule is more than financial advice. It is a philosophy of life. It teaches balance, discipline, and responsibility. The lesson is clear. Don't wait to be rich to manage money. Manage money well, and you will become rich. Lesson 3. Credibility is more valuable than gold. Money comes and goes. Fortunes are made and lost. But reputation, once broken, is almost impossible to rebuild. For Li Ka-shing, credibility was the foundation of his empire. He often said, "In business, I am not afraid of losing money. I am only afraid of losing credibility." To him, credibility was not a side value, it was the very currency of business. As a young man starting out in plastics, Li did not have much capital. He did not have elite connections. What he had was his word. When suppliers hesitated to trust a young factory owner, he built confidence by always paying on time, even if it meant personal sacrifice. When customers doubted his small operation, he over-delivered on quality. Slowly his reputation grew. If Li promised something, he would do it. The real test of credibility often comes in crisis. 1967 riots in Hong Kong. Many fled or defaulted on contracts. Li Ka-shing, however, honored his obligations. He continued paying debts and fulfilling orders. Result, while others collapsed, banks and partners increased their trust in him. He proved that integrity shines brightest when others panic. In finance, capital is what allows growth. For Li, credibility itself was capital. With credibility, banks lent him money. With credibility, partners entered deals. With credibility, employees remained loyal. It created an invisible asset, worth more than cash, that fueled expansion. Li followed a simple principle. If he promised delivery, he delivered early. If he owed money, he paid promptly. If he could not guarantee something, he never exaggerated. This principle made him predictable in a world of uncertainty, and predictability breeds trust. The supplier story. When a supplier once sent inferior material, Li refused to cut corners. He replaced it at his own cost to protect his client's trust. The bank loan. Because of his credibility, banks extended loans to him even when others were denied during downturns. These stories spread, reinforcing the idea that doing business with Li Ka-shing was safe. Many entrepreneurs chase profit at the cost of reputation, cutting corners, hiding defects, delaying payments. They may win briefly, but they lose long-term trust. Li understood this trade-off clearly. Money lost can be recovered. Trust lost is almost impossible to regain. Thus, he always chose credibility over quick profit. For leaders and entrepreneurs, Li's example shows: protect your word, promises are contracts, prioritize fairness, treat partners and employees with integrity, think long-term. Reputation compounds like interest. Without credibility, even the largest fortune is fragile. A good reputation is better than a fortune. Trust is the currency that never devalues. Without credibility, success is temporary. With credibility, success is inevitable. Li Ka-shing's empire was not just built on land, factories, or technology. It was built on credibility. He knew that trust is invisible but priceless. It opens doors that money alone cannot. It survives downturns and crises. It attracts partners and opportunities. The lesson is clear. Guard your credibility as your greatest treasure. Money may vanish, but a good name will carry you further than gold ever could. Lesson 4. Vision and investing. Ahead of the times. Markets move in cycles. Industries rise and fall. Opportunities appear and disappear. Most people react only when change has already happened. But Li Ka-shing had a unique gift. He saw tomorrow's opportunities today. This vision, combined with courage, allowed him to buy when others sold, to expand when others retreated, and to create empires in areas others ignored. A defining example of Li's foresight came during the 1967 riots in Hong Kong. Fear gripped the city. Property prices collapsed. Wealthy families sold land at desperate prices. Many fled abroad, doubting Hong Kong's future. While others ran, Li Ka-shing bought. He invested heavily in land, believing Hong Kong would recover. His boldness turned crisis into fortune. Those lands became the cornerstone of his real estate empire. In the late 1970s, Li saw another opportunity. Hutchison Whampoa, a struggling British trading company. Others saw decline. Li saw potential. By acquiring Hutchison, he gained control over ports, shipping, and global trading routes. This move transformed him into an international tycoon, expanding far beyond Hong Kong. In the 1980s and 1990s, few imagined mobile phones would become universal. Li Ka-shing did. Through Hutchison Telecom, he invested early in mobile networks, including Orange in the UK. Later, he was among the pioneers of 3G technology. These investments multiplied his wealth and cemented his reputation as a forward-looking investor. Li often compared business to sailing. Business is like sailing. The wind changes constantly. A good captain adjusts the sails. His principle was, anticipate change before it arrives, move boldly when others hesitate, adapt quickly when the environment shifts. Most investors follow trends. They buy when prices rise, sell when panic spreads. Li did the opposite. He bought property during political unrest. He invested in telecom when few understood it. He sold assets at peak value, reinvesting elsewhere. He understood that real opportunity is rarely where the crowd is. Vision alone is not enough. It must be matched with courage. When Li invested during crises, he risked ridicule and failure, but he trusted his analysis and discipline. Lesson: true visionaries combine foresight with the courage to act. Li Ka-shing also foresaw globalization. He expanded early into Europe, North America, and Asia, diversifying beyond Hong Kong. From ports to energy, from retail Watsons to utilities, his empire became global because he looked outward while others stayed local. Think long-term. Don't focus only on this quarter. Look at the next decade. Invest in crisis. Fear creates bargains for the brave. Spot trends early. Study technology, demographics, and global shifts. Adapt constantly. Adjust strategies as conditions evolve. If you only think of today, you will lose tomorrow. If you think of tomorrow, you will win today. Opportunities are often hidden in ordinary things. Those who see further, act earlier, and work harder will always win. Li Ka-shing's fortune was not built by chasing trends. It was built by anticipating them. He saw beyond fear, beyond short-term chaos, into the future. That vision, combined with courage and discipline, allowed him to invest ahead of the times and create lasting wealth. The lesson is clear. Do not follow the crowd. Train yourself to see the horizon and dare to move before others do. Lesson 5. Wealth for giving. Many chase wealth for luxury, mansions, cars, power. But for Li Ka-shing, wealth was never about personal indulgence. He believed, wealth only has meaning when it benefits society. This philosophy shaped his life as much as business. He saw wealth not as privilege but as responsibility. Growing up poor, Li knew hunger, loss, and helplessness. Those experiences made him empathetic. He never forgot what it felt like to lack opportunity. So when he gained wealth, he dedicated much of it to ensuring others could have the opportunities he never had. In 1980, he founded the Li Ka-shing Foundation, LKSF. Its mission: support education, healthcare, and humanitarian work. Li often said the foundation was his third son. He had 2 biological sons, but he treated the foundation as another child, one that would carry forward his values long after him. Li firmly believed education breaks the cycle of poverty. Shantou University, 1981, almost entirely funded by him, offering thousands of students access to quality education. Scholarships across China and abroad, support for research institutions worldwide, including UC Berkeley, Stanford, and Oxford. Quote, education is the best investment. It changes not only one person, but generations. Beyond education, Li poured billions into healthcare, building hospitals in Hong Kong and mainland China, funding cancer research and cutting-edge medical technology, supporting reforms to make healthcare more accessible. His reasoning: without health, no success is sustainable. Li's giving extended to crisis relief, donations for earthquake and tsunami victims, poverty alleviation projects, support for the elderly and vulnerable. He saw philanthropy not as charity but as human obligation. Unlike some tycoons, Li lived simply despite his billions. Modest clothing, frugal meals, no obsession with luxury yachts or mansions. He gave not for show, but from conviction. He once said, "It is better to be criticized for giving than to be criticized for not giving." Li's generosity inspired other Asian tycoons to establish foundations and give back. His influence extended far beyond the money itself. Students he supported became leaders. Hospitals he funded saved countless lives. Research he enabled advanced science globally. Wealth became a multiplier of impact. From Li's philanthropy we learn, wealth is not just for comfort, it is for contribution. Give early, not only after death. Target long-term impact, education, health, not just short-term relief. Lead by example. Generosity encourages generosity. Money is like water. If it flows, it nourishes life. If it stagnates, it breeds poison. Wealth is not measured by how much you keep, but by how much you give. The responsibility of wealth is not enjoyment, but contribution. For Li Ka-shing, wealth was never the end goal. It was the means to build schools, heal the sick, relieve suffering, and inspire future generations. His legacy is not only skyscrapers and companies, it is the lives transformed through his giving. The final lesson is clear. Success is not complete until it serves others. True wealth is not in what you own, but in what you share.